This is The Wealth Puzzle with Michael Mansfield from the Lynn Group. When a part of your financial strategy is out of tune, your long-term goals, your retirement savings, and your legacy can all suffer. With many years of experience in the financial industry, Michael provides his clients and prospects with the information they need regarding Social Security, retirement income planning, wealth management, and much more. Listen in as we address your financial concerns and provide helpful solutions to put you on the path to achieving your retirement goals. And now, here is The Wealth Puzzle with Michael Mansfield.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to The Wealth Puzzle with Michael Mansfield. And I'm Tana Pennington. It's been a long time. I'm excited. We have lots to talk about. We haven't been here for a while. We've been super busy, but it hasn't been like a vacation by any means. It's just been good busy. And my daughter got married, so we are super excited about that. But yeah, we have a lot to go over. So
woohoo! I know it's been almost like a month since we've done a show.
It's kind of bad. We've had some clients call in and say, "Where are you guys?" We haven't been.
We were actually testing our viewership to see if anybody cared.
Right?
If anybody noticed.
It was good feedback.
Maybe it was because there was just nothing going on in the world for the last month. There was no news. There was nothing interesting to talk about.
Yeah.
Just kidding. It was a culmination of things. Tana was busy. She was actually in town all last week.
It was awesome.
Still no time to do a show. But hey, I had to go through the cold thing. That was weird.
That's a bummer.
Well, it's so funny. So my kids got sick better part of a month ago. And then so then I ended up getting sick. So we took one of the kids to the doctor right before school started, because we're like, well, what if they need something? We better go check. And our pediatrician, him and COVID, man, they're into it, right? So he's just
Yeah, let's find out if this is COVID.
You get to the office and you think that you're on the moon or something with the outfits and whatnot. So anyways, so we go in there and I'm like, man, he's gonna just tear us apart and it's gonna be chaos. And he looks at my daughter for like 30 seconds and she's like, oh, she's just got a cold. And I'm like,
thank you.
What? The colds still exist?
Yeah.
I thought, what? That can't be true. And coming from him, where I expected,
immediate,
just shove a vaccine shot right in the forehead, fixed. Ow. So anyway, so I got sick for a couple weeks. What's funny though is it was like the traditional cold where you're a little snotty, you got a sore throat, turns into an earache. My pesky ear is still bugging me.
Yeah, that does take a while to get rid of. I've heard other people complain about that. It lingers.
So it's a bummer. So anyways, we're back. I survived my cold. Tana survived her daughter's wedding.
I did. It was beautiful.
I didn't think she was going to. Tana, there was a point there where Tana was like,
I know. I got a little stressed up to the moment. It was stressful.
You weren't even. It's like that Bridezilla show, except you weren't the bride, but still.
Well, there's 3 different families coming together, and you just want everyone to enjoy themselves and no drama.
Her daughter married 2 people, by the way.
No. They didn't.
It's very hip and modern.
Yeah, no. It was a great wedding. It really was.
Anyway,
the dancing was fun. The food was fantastic. So yeah,
that is true. All right, we got to get down to business. There's so much to talk about. Obviously, it's been an insane month. I mean, just I have a bad habit of watching the news at night. It's a terrible habit. I would recommend everybody cancel that habit. But so much has been happening, at least economically, and it's the frustration, it's the annoyance, it's the confusion. So what happened? Let's go back in time real quick and get everyone caught up. So first and foremost, second quarter GDP. Remember, gross domestic product came out in July, and it was negative. It was negative. And all of a sudden, here it comes. Here's all the noise and all the chaos. And if you hate Biden, then we just had 2 consecutive quarters of GDP. Therefore, we're in a recession. And if you love Biden, well, no, but there's still jobs in the market. And so everybody was like really polarized over this, this piece of data. Are we in a recession or aren't we? And that's when Tana and I pulled out that big financial planning Bible. Is that Is that like sacrilegious to say that? Like, I don't know. Is it? I don't know. I'm sorry. But anyways, we pulled out our big book, and I've had that book for many years. And so I thought it was interesting to read the section on, well, what is the definition of a recession? And it's ironic that like everybody won, in the first sentence, it said, 2 consecutive quarters of declining GDP is a recession. And then it goes on to say, but it's got to be characterized by all of this stuff. Unemployment numbers, inventories, import stuff, a whole bunch of junk. And so we, intermittently talk about that. Tana and I then, a little while back, so anyone who watches these shows on YouTube or Rumble or listens to it, you can scroll back down the line of shows and find the one, I think it was called What is GDI? So we spent the whole show kind of talking about the alternative to GDP. And ironically, if you watch that show, we talk about the irony of how the Federal Reserve says that the GDI calculation, gross domestic income, is actually a more accurate calculation of economic, we'll say whatever, in the United States. The problem is, why has nobody ever heard of it? And so what we showed you was GDP is like hot to trot, right? So the quarter ends and literally like a week later, like, oh, here's our first GDP number. And they're very excited to throw it out. And then what do? A month later, they give you a new number. And then what do? A month later, they give you another new number, and they keep revising it. And so that's a really frustrating thing when you sit on Tana and I's side of the table, where you're trying to inform people. You only have the information that you have. And I would think that it's like anything, instead it's like the cold. I jumped to the conclusion, oh, we must be dying, because I was told if you have any flu-like symptoms, you're dying. To then only find out, well, actually, just kidding. It was just a cold, and so the same thing happens with this economic data is they're so quick to throw this junk out, and you're like, ah! And then as it slowly continues to come out and you finally get the real facts of what's going on, you say, it's
not that bad.
It's just a cold.
It's just a cold. It's temporary.
Anyways, so here, let's pop up a screen. It's going to be an important screen. All right, so here's the Bureau of Economic Analysis. Tana, would you say that this is a official government website?
Yes, absolutely.
Right. So did we find this on some weird conspiracy blog?
No, not at all.
Okay. As if the government isn't a giant conspiracy anyway. That
was a trick question then.
So here we've pulled up the page on the Bureau of Economic Analysis of what real GDP was for quarter number 2. So that runs from April through the end of June, right? And so the first advanced estimate that they gave us, as quick as they could, booyah, they said, oh my gosh, bad news, bears, everybody.
Negative.
It was negative. And Tana called me crying.
I did not.
You didn't?
No.
We're in a recession. Now what? Right? And then you sold your children so that you could feed yourself.
Never.
So anyways, there was that preemptive strike. Boom, it comes out. Then the second estimate a month later comes out. And they say, a funny story. It's only negative 0.6 now. It's actually getting better. It's going towards the zero line. And that's funny because the way that economic data tends to work with people is nobody cares about the other estimates. They care about that first thing that they heard. They wire it into their little brainiacs, and then they don't think twice about it. So going back to the theme of the other show, GDI, gross domestic income. Oh, what? The government talks about it? That's weird, but I've never heard of it. So why is it nobody's ever heard of GDI, even though it's here all over the government website? And that's because, Tana, what do you notice was the GDI under the right out of the gates panicked advanced estimate?
Well, they didn't reflect anything.
Yeah, there's nothing there.
Yeah, right.
So GDI, for whatever reason, is one of the numbers that the government doesn't panically throw at you as soon as they can.
They
actually wait a whole month to give you the initial number. That's why nobody's ever heard of it, because everybody runs for the first estimate on GDP. That's all they talk about on the news for about a week. That's all they hoot and holler about. And then no one brings it up again. That was it. Okay, let's end the show there. That was good.
No, we're not done yet.
Oh, okay. So anyways, GDI comes out. And what do you notice that's different, Tana, between GDP and GDI?
It's a big positive.
It's a big positive, right? Did you mean that literally or figuratively? Right.
Both.
Okay, that makes sense. Right? So GDI. Oh my gosh, I just used my foot to lower my chair somehow. That was weird. I hit the thing. I got all excited. I was kicking my legs. So GDI is positive in the second quarter. Now that's rather confusing because if you go to first quarter, GDI was also positive. It was positive 1.8%. And so once again, you start getting into this. Well, wait a second. Where's the recession? Because according to some people, we're in a big bad recession and everything sucks. Sorry, that was a technical term for the economy. And so it's fascinating, right? Because GDI is telling a very different story than GDP is telling. The main reason for that disparity is gross domestic income is really calculated without a huge focus on imports. And so when you look at imports inside of GDP, heck, in the first quarter, imports caused GDP to go down like 3%. So if you strip that one thing out, you actually have a positive GDP. And so, my opinion is, Tana's opinion is, guess what? For the last couple of years, we've had some issues with our imports. The supply chain, remember the thing that we decided to put into the blender and turn on, make a whole mess of, and then so that's kind of what this disparity is. And so the debate of the day is we're not really in the strongest recession that some people would like us to be in. And so that's fascinating to us. And so we're advocates that stuff is better out there than one would think. And unfortunately, if we go past GDI, we just get into economic data. Let's see here. For example, this is actually a great lesson from yesterday. So we're living in like crazy pill time, right? Where did you take econ?
Yes.
101, Ventura College.
Not at Ventura College. University of Utah.
Sorry, you
asked.
Her privilege is oozing. Sorry. I took it at Ventura College, and I took it at Cal Lutheran again. Yeah. But yes, I went to Ventura College. Everybody see, like, if you're a financially responsible person like me, say, hey, I can get a low cost education.
That's a good point.
For 2 years.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Actually, I got out of high school and didn't know what to do, and so before my parents booted me into the Army, I did my time at Ventura College. In any case, so economic data comes out, right? And so this happened yesterday. So Institute of Supply Management, non-manufacturing index. So this focuses on the service sector. You see the title here if you're watching this, increases to 56.9%. Now, people say that sounds like an F. If I had a 56 on a test, that sounds terrible. Ironically, the way that this index works is anything over a 50 is a great number. It means that the sector is expanding, not contracting. So boom, service sector came in. It is booming on all cylinders, highest reading of the year. And so once again, what did Econ 101 at Utah State? I don't know. You said something like that. Utah Valley.
University of Utah.
There you go. What would your econ professor say if you had good economic data, Tana?
Then you have a healthy economy.
Oh, so good is good back then.
Yes.
You must have went to school like 100 years ago then, because obviously things are not like that anymore.
They're not. It's totally opposite. It's contrarian.
We live in the upside down, right? We're in the upside down, right? And the upside down is good equals bad now. And so yesterday the stock market opens up green. It's like, oh, maybe things aren't so bad. So we're up. This economic piece comes out, the data gets released by the government. Boom, stock market goes straight down. And you're like, but Tana's teacher in econ at Utah University. I don't know why. I don't know why that one doesn't stick. But
U of U. Maybe that'll stick.
U of U. At U of U. And who knows? Maybe it's not an accredited school, and so that's why your teacher misinformed you. Well, your teacher should have told you that good economic data is bad.
That's not how it worked back then.
Right. So, anyways, the stock market crater baby's down, and the reason being is because turns out the United States and everybody inside of it is now drug addicted to the Federal Reserve. We are so addicted to cheap and easy money that we're scared to death that the Fed's going to raise and normalize interest rates. And the way that it works is the Fed is raising rates to break the back of inflation, which we'll get to later. And so the whole breaking of the back of the economy to control inflation, they need to see economic data declining, not doing well. And so since economic data is doing well, that is now considered a bad thing in the United States.
Right.
So I would like everybody to pray tonight. If you pray, that's what, if you don't pray, still, just say something out loud that you wish for bad economic data.
Because that will help.
And then I want you all to stop and think about how stupid that is.
Yeah.
Because it really is. I mean, I find the insanity, the shallowness of saying we have an expanding economy, we have an expanding labor market, people are working, people are making money and getting pay increases. Once again, we'll get to inflation in a second. But on a high level, this is healthy for humans. This is healthy for society. And people, it's just not working. I mean, separately, let me scroll down. What do we got here? Oh yeah. And then we keep creating jobs, right? It goes back to that theme. Are we really in an are we really in a recession or not if we keep creating jobs? I mean, here, if I go to this, let me go to this chart. So this chart, if you can see this if you're watching the show, this shows payrolls, people on payroll. So Tana, how was the economy prior to, let's say, I'm just random date, February 2010? I'm just weirdly throwing that date out there.
It was doing great.
We were booming, right?
Yes.
We were booming on all cylinders. This was a 8-cylinder V8 motor of economy. It was the Trump economy. You're not allowed to say that out loud, so we probably shouldn't. But it was when that guy was in office. We had such a solid economy. The job market was steady increasing.
Low
payrolls were increasing. Wage growth was increasing on all levels, especially the lower levels. You had the most collected federal tax revenue ever recorded. Stuff was going good.
Yeah.
And so if you look at this chart here in February of 2020, obviously that was when Mr. COVID hit and they decided to cancel the economy.
Yeah.
I always think for some reason when I talk about that, I always think about that easy button at Staples. Remember that thing?
The red button.
That's kind of what they did with the economy, except it was just like an on-off button.
Right. It just
all right, there it's off. And so anyways, right before the COVID monster got us, you had payrolls in the United States totaling 152.5 million, right? We lost 20 million jobs in a month.
Oh, wow.
And ever since then, it's been slowly building back, steady. And so August just came out. What is fascinating about the August read of payrolls, Tana?
Well, it's higher than pre-COVID. It's fantastic.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
So now, I'll say the numbers for people who are just listening to this on their phones. Now, non-farm payrolls are at 152.74 million. So we're higher than we were during our booming economy. Now, once again, remember, some people are saying it's bad. Everything's bad. Bad. Recession, party pooper, foul, bad. And once again, this is very confusing. Because how do you have expanding service sectors, expanding manufacturing? How do you have payrolls now getting to an all-time high? Generally, there'd be some kind of churning of the butter because according to people, we've been in a recession for 8 months. Remember the quarters that were negative GDP? That was the recession that was
positive
starting. GDI. So, the wheels are coming off the bus.
Yeah.
Supposedly. But it's really weird that our labor market keeps getting bigger and bigger and now is the highest recorded labor market ever recorded on planet Earth. So what's funny is then people will counter it and they say, yeah, but that's just because, there's people that can work, Mike. So this was actually a debate I had with someone last week. That person was named Tana. Just kidding. But
we debate all the time.
We do. We should do have you seen that show where it's like the hot wings where they eat the hot food?
See who can handle the hottest?
Yeah, we should do that as a debate.
The ghost pepper or the
yeah, it's like hot sauce or something on their
right?
chicken wings. Anyways, my brother loves the show. I can't stand it. So anyways, the challenge that was, yeah, Mike, this is all fun and cute and this is good economic data and I realize you're trying to make everything feel really rosy, but the reality is unemployment, people filing for unemployment has been creeping up. And there it is. That's the crack in the system. And you know what? That person was absolutely correct that unemployment has been creeping up a little bit,
very minimal.
So what's funny is here at the Lynn Group, Tana and I like to use data to inform thought. And so I follow this high frequency tracker because what they do is they compare current levels to 2019. Now, why do you think we would compare it to 2019, Tana?
Pre-COVID.
Oh, like some genius stuff here today.
Well, right? I mean, we just, yeah.
It's genius.
So repetitive.
2019, economy's booming. It's doing great. Labor market's tight. Everyone's happy. People are getting raises. Fed's collecting tons of money. Everyone's happy wappy. Mm-hmm. So here you go. Initial jobless claims. So this is new people last week filed for unemployment. 232,000. A lot of people filing for unemployment. That number is absolutely higher than it was a month or two ago. So that person that said this to me is totally
1,000.
Correct. No, that's 2019. Much. I'm saying a month ago. Like 2 months ago, it was like maybe 215,000 or something like that.
Okay.
And so it's it's definitely creeped up.
Okay.
But when you look at the same week in 2019, the world's best economy, what do you notice, Tana?
Yeah, it's lower, slightly.
Well, no,
it's pretty much the same.
Yeah, I mean, they're the same, right?
By 1,000.
So it's like, wait a second. I'm confused because once again, I was told, well, unemployment is creeping up. People are filing for unemployment. That's a bad indicator.
Right.
But isn't it ironic that when you go to 2019,
right, when things were really good,
when things were really good, we had the same amount of people filing for unemployment.
Right.
So is this really crazy and scary? And then we go to the next line, continued jobless claims. So this isn't people filing last week. These are people that are staying on unemployment.
So less people.
And so
are staying on now.
So
compared to 2019 when things were healthier.
We got 1.4 million people staying on, whereas we were at almost 1.7 in 2019. You almost said 16. That was what was it when you flip numbers upside down? That's not dyslexia. That's
actually it is, isn't it?
Is it? No, I thought that's like when you put them in different
order. Oh,
I don't know. Anyways, point being is, compared to this time period in the summer of 2019, when the economy was doing solid and no one was threatening we were in a recession and no one was threatening how scary things are and no one was threatening how bad everything was, it's fascinating that the reality is, I'd look at continuing jobless claims over initial, and we have a meaningful lot less people on unemployment than we did in 19.
Yeah.
God, that's pretty scary.
No, it's not.
Oh.
It looks good. It looks real good.
Yeah. It's because Texas is hiring everybody.
The numbers, when you look further down, like TSA checkpoints, it's showing people are traveling just as much as they were.
Those are a little lighter, and these bounce around every week.
Hotel occupancy. Just
no. But it's the jobless claims are the monster.
Right.
Now, what's interesting though is the issue that we have, and the issue that we have is this inflation thing, right? So everyone's scared of inflation. Mm-hmm. What do you think? Any thoughts on what drives inflation, Tana?
Yeah, so your money supply.
That's a good guess.
Yeah.
Actually, I feel like we talked about it before the show, though, so I don't know. I'm going to give you credit.
Thanks.
That was actually my answer. She stole from me.
I did not.
So.
It's the answer.
So. It's the money supply, right? I mean, there's other things, the supply chain, the Russian war, all of these things have attributable factors to stuff. But the true heavy lifting driver of inflation is the money supply. And so the challenge is inflation, as everybody knows, has hit 40-year highs this year. And the Federal Reserve is raising interest rates in an attempt to bring down the inflation. Mm-hmm. The whole point, so this is what frustrates me about the Feds, is the whole point of this is what's called demand destruction. So by them raising interest rates, they're hoping that people buy cars slower, buy houses slower, and business owners take less loans and hire less people. If we can just slow everything down, then we can, control the inflation.
Right.
See, I look at it the opposite. Is there's two ways to deal with inflation. There's either demand destruction, which we're trying to do right now, or there's supply expansion. And so if you can create more supply, so you deregulate companies, you cut all the corporate taxes and all this stuff, and you try to flood them with the ability to create more supply to sop up all of the inflation. To me, that works way better in my mind from an economic standpoint than demand destruction, where the feds are literally trying to cause a recession without causing one. They're like, we're just going to go right to the edge. And then that's why they keep saying this weird thing called soft landing. We just want a soft land. We want to almost cause a recession without really causing it. See, I'm hyper this morning. I don't know why. I'm just so excited to be back.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Anyways, so Tana mentioned money supply. So let me pull that up here.
Yeah, like your liquid assets.
Yeah, mainly, right?
Yeah,
so it's all your checking, savings, money markets, currencies, traveler checks. It's all this readily available money that people have. What the heck? There we go. There we go. All right. So if anybody's watching this, so I just pulled up a chart of what's called the US M2 money supply. And so let's give the history lesson real quick here, right? You go back in time. The Federal Reserve, created in the early 1900s, had one mandate. Yeah, they say, like, what do they say? Like, you had one job. Well, they're screwing that up. But, so anyways, if the economy is expanding, you expand the money supply. If the economy is contracting, you contract the money supply. That was what the feds were supposed to do. And by doing that, they would control inflation. So Tana, in 2020, did the economy expand or contract?
Contract.
Yeah, at the highest rate ever recorded.
Right.
Okay. So then,
but the money supply expanded exponentially. Yes.
Right. So once again, mandate, Federal Reserve mandate. If the economy shrinks, shrink money. So the economy shrunk.
Just the opposite was done. Yes.
Oh, okay. So we're back in the upside down again, right?
Right.
It's just like
economics 101 does not make sense right now.
Right. I mean, heck, if you read literally the basic info definition of money supply, the M2 money supply is critical in understanding and forecasting money supply, inflation, and interest rates. Historically, when the money supply is dramatically increased, there will be a following dramatic increase in prices of goods. And what? This is so weird. Inflation. So how did this definition know that before we did that 2 years ago? This wait.
Oh, that's so awesome.
So I can't figure this out. So was it Econ 101 at Ventura College that taught this, or was it at U of U? Because somehow somebody knew this, and the most intelligent economic minds that run our country have no clue what we're talking about. I mean, think about this. If anybody is so bored that they watch the Federal Reserve speaking, Powell out there talking, I'm in fact that bored. If anyone is ever that bored, remember the Fed's mandate. They had one job, Tana. What was it?
To increase interest rates.
No, to control the money supply.
Oh, okay.
Jeez
sorry.
Louise.
Well, I mean, that's what they're doing right now. I'm sorry. That's what they're doing right now.
That's what they're that's the one job they've been given now. But
to like curb the inflation. I'm sorry.
That's right. And so the problem is they had one job to do. And if you listen to Powell talk, you've never heard him mention the money supply. He never talks about it. The one thing they're supposed to be in charge of. Right. So anyways, the reason that this is so relevant to everybody is this is the true massive driver behind the scenes for inflation. And so this chart, it's an old chart since 1960, and it shows the money supply. Now, Tana, as I go from 1960 all the way to 2020, do you see any like large up and down hardcore movements? It's bouncing all over the place and going through loops.
Just very gradual.
Yeah. Right. It's very gradual. We've never had a massive increase or decrease in the money supply. It's always grown at a very gradual gradual
way
for, just under about 6% a year out of the gates. All of a sudden, 2020, something happens. And so for the people that can't see this chart, all of a sudden the chart takes a left turn and goes straight up like a missile.
About 20%
a year
each year. 2 years.
So we increased the money supply almost 40% since COVID hit in totality. Wow. Now, if you look at this long-term chart, you can kind of see it's rolling over. And this is where it gets fascinating to Mike and Tana. And so let's kind of zoom in a little bit. And so what happens is, so here's a better view of this. So all of a sudden, 2020, COVID hits, money supply goes up massively because the feds, they printed money, they handed out stimulus checks, they made money tax-free, they gave PPP loans, they gave unemployment benefits, they expanded all those benefits. They did everything they can to flood the market with money.
Put off student loan payments.
Now, remember, it's called basic info. This isn't even advanced info. This is under the basic info definition.
Yeah.
Wait, increasing money supply leads to increasing goods
prices of goods and services.
Like I said, this is under the basic info. like who thought this was a good idea? Somebody. But anyways, so all of a sudden we have massive expansion in money supply. Now we have a massive amount of inflation. Boom. Now something funny has happened though, and we'll just keep kind of zooming in here. Since 2022 hit, January of 22, which is right about here, all of a sudden, no more money supply, right? So the reason it grew in 2020 was because of all the government bailout stuff they did. Right. In 21, it grew massively again because of the what was that thing called? The American Rescue Act or whatever, that $2 trillion bill that happened in like March of 21. Right. So all of that stuff led to this. And they haven't really passed enough that's actually flooded the market with money at this point. And so what's happened for basically the better part of the last 6 months is the money supply has gone completely flat.
Yeah, stagnant.
It's actually gone down a couple months, ticked down from in April. It hasn't gone down in years. There hasn't been a downtick in this thing. This is incredible. This is mathematically incredible right now to have this flat spot, because as the money supply tightens up and it allows that longer term trend line to catch up to where it was, we're slowly absorbing the inflation. The fact that this thing is flat and not going up anymore means that inflation is exiting the building. You then can further quantify that by looking at the softening of real estate prices. The softening of commodity prices are coming down quite a bit. Inflation is drying up faster than people think.
So then possibly the feds might not increase rates like they're saying.
Yeah. And so that's at least my suspicion is we're all scared to death of what the Fed's going to do. The market is not positioned for any good news at all. Nobody for some reason is talking about the money supply, even though that is the massive, 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 massive driver of inflation behind the scenes. And this bad boy is slowly drying up. There's still more in the system, but it really does mean to me that at the moment, as long as the money supply doesn't start expanding again, is that, inflation is going to come down pretty significantly over the next 6 months.
That's great news.
To that theme, it probably means the feds ain't going to raise rates as fast as people are thinking, and we're certainly scared they are. And you know what that could mean, Tana?
Yeah.
That could mean that economic news could become good news.
Yeah, right.
Again, good news could become
normalized.
Good news. The bad news.
That would be great.
In between news. So anyways, this is a long show. We appreciate everyone who's following along and watching it, but we do have a huge amount of conviction. I am still very optimistic that the stock market is going to melt up very significantly through the later part of the year. There's a lot of catalysts here.
Yeah, after the midterm elections too.
I think the midterms are a big catalyst that gives a lot of directions. August and September are garbage months in the stock market. Nobody cares about August in the stock market. September always stinks. The midterms are coming up. There's a lot of anxiety there. But once again, when they're over, I mean, heck, if you look at the history of the stock market, the best performing stock market happens when there's a Democratic president and a split Congress. And I have to admit, that seems like what polling is looking like at the moment. So
yeah, good point.
I think all things point to everything's not as miserable as we think. If the feds keep raising rates, recession is a coming probably in a year or so,
or 2023, 24.
Yeah. So we'll worry about that when we get there. Yeah. Tana will probably have to get rid of her Tesla. Her husband will have to get rid of his private jet.
Oh dear.
People don't know if that was a joke or not.
He doesn't have a private jet.
He just flies.
Clear the air.
It's like I'm not a doctor. I just fly one or something, whatever. He's like, I don't own a private jet. I just fly one every day.
He's lucky. He's got a really cool office.
Anyways, give us a call. Certainly reach out to the office, 805-500-7035. We would love to talk to you guys about your questions, your concerns, the things that are causing you angst right now, because there's a lot of that going around. but we certainly appreciate your time and the viewership. Feel free to visit our website, thelindgroup.com. Lind is LYND. You can submit complaints about our show. You can request things, what we could talk about, maybe what we should wear, stuff like that. I don't know. Anyways, everyone have a great time, and we'll see you later.
Sounds good.